Previously on Balls.
Neil on the line, and of course it's all about the Afon Cup. Neil, good afternoon, welcome. Thanks for joining us on Balls Visual Radio.
Yeah, good afternoon to you guys.
Thanks, Neil. Good to talk to you. I know you were absolutely ecstatic when I saw you on SuperSport there at the game. You were really I could see that you were rooting for our boys in such a way that it looked like it was the final when you were involved in 1996. Just take us through what your perceptions were of the boys' performance in that recent game to get through to the quarterfinals.
Yeah, I think games when you have to only need a point, they can be very, very dangerous. You know, you can always say to yourself, now if we want to go into the game and win, but always at the back of your mind is that now we only need a point and don't have to do the job but that soon got dispelled after only a couple of minutes when they conceded. So now the whole man's mindset has to change again. So it's a really difficult situation to be in. But I thought they rallied back. They showed a lot of courage, and to come back from a goal down twice in the match, I thought was most encouraging. Good signs, because somewhere in the competition it starts getting a little bit more difficult now as you enter the knockout stages, and the teams are much more clued up and better off.
We may be through to the quarterfinals, sir, but I just want to find out your thoughts on what is obvious, our attacking side. We're not finishing well off. What do we need to do if we are to advance to the final, facing Mali in the semi-final?
Well, I don't entirely agree with that. I think we scored 2 goals the last game. You can say, well, it's some defenders and midfielders. That's how modern football is attacking, To win a tournament of this nature, you have to have people from all positions scoring goals. It's not only the strikers that have to score goals. Asamoah Gyan, he only scored last night for the first time in the competition. So, our strikers will come to the fore sooner or later. We just have to make sure that we keep taking risk in our passes, keep looking to get in behind the defence, especially Mali. Big guys, they need to be turned, and we need to get them in and behind their defence and get as many men in the box as we can. So, there's all different angles of attack, not only done by the strikers.
Sash was saying yesterday, Neil, regarding those 2 goals, it was encouraging to see they looked like proper goals. They looked fantastic. I don't know how else to describe it. They weren't, a little tap in or a glance off the boot or something like that. They were proper strikes at goal.
Yeah, they were very, very good goals in considering the sort of the time frame it was. We had a little bit of pressure. We needed a little bit of composure. We got into their box, we came out their box, and especially May Mashlango, he turned himself, he looked up, and he curled it nicely. And those don't always go in. A lot of times those just scrape the post and things like that. But move the goalkeeper, because you come in the side on the left foot, the goalkeeper's got to naturally adjust. The same applied with Sangweni, and he moved it. What he was doing in that position in that time of the game, I don't know. But he found himself pushed up and in a left wing left wing sort of position. I don't know what he was doing in that situation, but he also took a lot of composure and was very good in the execution.
Yeah, I think that was about. You mentioned modern football, and that's how it does change drastically. But Neil, you've been in this situation before. You started off talking about the mental aspect. The guys are now going into a knockout. You're on home ground. This must stir memories of what you were, what you went through back in '96. How do you, if you had the chance to go and speak to those players, what would you say to them?
Yeah, there's got to be big moments in the game you have to win now. It's knockout. There's no more planning for a point or this type of thing anymore. You have to win the big moments, and the big moments are making sure that we win our tackles, making sure that we compose in defence and we do the right things at the right time. So those big moments is obviously they've got key players, Sayadu Keita, and those type of players have to be taken out of the game, taken out of the occasion. They always look to those players to do something different, so we've got to negate that. And then we've got to have our big players come and step up to the plate. They're the guys that, like our Mpellas, who do score goals. It's going to get even less and less now. It's going to get tighter and tighter. You might only have half a chance. You need to put those half chances away.
You mentioned composed on defence, Neil, and weren't you concerned at how vulnerable we looked on the counter-attack in that previous game?
Very, very, very concerned. I thought we didn't get our organisation done early enough. The communication wasn't there early enough because they played the ball in the channels and their strikers were running off the shoulder of our defenders, and we weren't quite anticipating those kind of passes, which you'll have a lot of against Mali. So we've got to get ourselves, our communication, our covering of players, we've got to get that a lot more organised, and obviously our defending of set pieces. It's been a worrying aspect for me throughout this competition.
Neil, at what stage will bonuses kick in? Because I know that our boys were just saying that they're not worried about bonuses at this stage, but I see that the Ghanaians have been given 300,000 rand after qualifying for the quarterfinals. Do you perhaps know?
I don't know their bonus structure, but I know to qualify for the quarterfinals, so they are due a bonus now.
Okay.
But obviously they're not looking at the quarterfinal bonus, they're looking at obviously to win it now.
Yes.
Yeah, of course.
All right, Neil, final question. We're looking, let's be realistic about this weekend. We've seen a different Bafana in the different styles of games, the way that they came out. The first game, they were very nervous. Second game, they looked more solid. This one, they looked very solid, but then also very, very suspect when it came to defence. Realistically, against Mali, how do you see Bafana going out onto the field and playing?
Well, I think they'll play a lot more freedom now, having to say that, this is only one game. Tonight there has to be a winner. You can only win or lose it now. There's no more saying, okay, what is the other guys in the rest of the group doing? And there's no more of that now. It's just a one-off game. They've got to approach it like a tough final. As you said, they are growing in confidence. They must be. The fans are getting behind them even more and more now. So that's a really good aspect. And they must feel confident in themselves. If they play to their strengths. We can't go in there, play differently, and think we have to do things any differently. We must go there and do what makes us strong, and make sure that we're doing the right things at the right time, as I said earlier. And you can't expect Dean Furman to go out there and start dribbling people. He must keep doing what he's doing in cleaning up the midfield, and you've got to expect the likes of Paula to get around the defence, a little bit more composure to put the cross onto our players. And that's what's going to win the game. There's one decent strike at goal, one decent cross, the right time at the right place.
And as far as superstitions go, Neil, how does playing another game at Moses Mabhida, how will that affect South Africa? Do they think about that kind of stuff?
Well, when I spoke to John earlier in the competition, I said obviously that was my number one objective, was to finish top of your group. Yeah. Durban, Moses Mabhida has been a very good hunting ground for us. But above that is just that you're not moving around. Yeah. We had it in '96 where we won our group and stayed in Johannesburg, and we didn't have to move hotels, training fields, and all that. So if we win the quarterfinals, then we play the semi-finals at Moses, which is great. So you only have to move then for the final, which we didn't have to do in '96. But it's staying at the same hotel, same training. You get to know the environment, and it suits you. And the Durban fans have been really great, together with the travelling fans have been really, really great.
Yeah, exactly. I think a very, very good point. Let's just hope they don't get too relaxed when it comes Saturday against Mali. Neil, always great to speak to you, and I'm sure you'll be watching intently just as we will be over the weekend. Thanks very much for joining us.
Will do.
Thanks. Cheers, Neil.
This is Balls Visual Radio. Darren, Simon, Kate and John. Weekdays from 3 p.m. to 6 p.m. Central African Time. Balls.co.za